Hi, this is Carl with another super success tip for IT consultants and managed service providers. Today I want to talk to you about why you should either fall in love with Excel or hire somebody who has. Excel spreadsheets are one of the most powerful tools you can have in your company. And it's mostly going to be used on the administrative side or the financial side, but there's lots of other purposes for it as well. So Excel started out as one of the only programs that you could actually run on a Macintosh when it was first invented. So the Macintosh could run Excel in 1985. Excel did not yet exist for Windows, so it was basically launched to help Macintosh have something you could actually do with the computer. A couple years later, they came out with the first version for Windows, and that was version 2, so it would be consistent with version 2 of the one for the Mac, right? So that's a tiny bit of trivia for you. That might get you a drink at a party game or something. But the important thing is that Excel is based on Lotus 123, which is arguably the first absolute killer app of home computers or PC computers. The spreadsheet capability has a million functions, and I think you don't have to be very sophisticated to understand that if you've got rows and columns, you can put a lot of information in a small area. Think about, for example, if you are holding classes for your clients and you want to manage registration, or you're doing a training or a luncheon or something, you just want to know who's going to be there, you can create a very simple spreadsheet that says what the event is and what the date is, who registered, did they pay or not pay? Are they a current client or not a current client? What day they paid? If they paid, what's the transaction number from your payment system? And what is the QuickBooks or Xero equivalent of that, right? So now you can cross-reference who paid, when they paid, because you got a date field, and then you can track the two different places where the money needs to be traced. I don't think you need to track it all the way to your bank account, but that's up to you. But the point is you can use it as a tracking system as that transaction progresses through. It also has the beautiful capability that you can have one column that is for text and another column for date fields or zip codes, another column for address information, another column for dollars and cents, and so forth. Having those date fields or formats allow you to actually keep people from making too many mistakes. You can restrict the entry into fields by just saying, look, go find the information here. I've got a sheet where I list what can go into this column, and then you restrict the fields in the column. So now people can only put a name there, or they can only put a zip code there, or whatever. It also has the ability to do math. And that's what most people use it for. Many people argue that Excel is intended only for math, and that is just silly because it's such a great place to store flat information, something where you can put on an X by Y sheet. But other people use it like a database, which it was not really intended for, but it is almost built in by default, a mini database. And for the people who say, well, it's not intended to be a database, I encourage you to take a look at pivot tables. So pivot tables are a way for you to have additional functionality by taking large amounts of information and sorting it in a way where you can access it on a simple spreadsheet. And we won't get into the details on that. But the point is, there's so much functionality that it is extremely useful for moving data from one place to another. Very common thing, and this is the thing that technical people do a lot, is that you can move data from one program to another program. As long as it lets you have a comma-separated field, which most export programs do, that's one of the file formats, or XML is another, that you can bring into Excel, change things up, fix them a little bit, straighten out the columns, make sure things came in the way they were supposed to, And when it's right, then you can save it to export to another program. We often do this, for example, with spreadsheets or for very larger pieces of data. You know, if you got 20 lines, just retype it. But if you have 1,000 lines, well, you really don't want to retype that if you don't have to. So it's really good for getting things from point A to point B. Now, I mentioned XML. Most people, I think, in our space don't really use that very much. But it's a reminder that this is fundamentally a program intended for importing and exporting at that level. Many people, including my company, have Excel spreadsheets for just about everything. In the managed service business, we have this big spreadsheet that lists clients when they signed with us, the first month that they were billed, so I can have an anniversary date, and then what they're buying, which package they bought into, and how many devices have been installed, and how many RMM agents have been deployed, and it's this huge, massive spreadsheet, which is powerful for keeping track of your billing because, you know, all these organizations want to automatically track the billing for you, and that's really nice, except that all the mistakes that they make somehow seem to be in their favor. So an Excel spreadsheet allows your team to keep things up to date. So if you do that, you'll always know exactly what the bottom line is. How many agents did you have deployed in the month of June or July? And make sure that your billing lines up with that. And if it doesn't, say, hey, we didn't have as many as you want to bill us for, so we're gonna, we want to have a talk about that. It's great for registration for events. It's great for doing your own financial projections. So you can take the data from your financial tool, again, QuickBooks or Xero or whatever, and export that to an Excel spreadsheet, and then do projections or do your own analysis of that. So you've got the financial records that you've exported, but now you can just take that and say, okay, well, let's manipulate that to add up just the pieces that are the cost of goods sold, cost of services sold, the mean of cost of goods sold over the last 2 quarters, right? A rolling mean, whatever. There's so many uses to it. And aside from the technical part, the front office and the management really should be using Excel. One of the most fundamental tools that I've ever used in my business is an Excel spreadsheet that keeps track of my finances going back to 1995 when I started my first consulting business. There are things, there's data that you should never, ever, ever lose. And if you do, it's because you didn't keep moving it forward and keeping track of it, right? Some people keep their spreadsheets for their mailing lists in Excel. Again, it's really good with stuff like that because you can put headers the same as your Constant Contact or MailChimp or whatever, so that when you import or export from those programs, everything is correct because you've got these different fields. They are limited in what their format can be, right? And so it's just a great tool for that. Some people, and I've not actually seen people do this very well, but they claim that they are doing all their documentation in Excel, and I just think it's the wrong tool for that. But I often have something where I'll assign a job to an administrative assistant because we want to track something, whether it is evaluating potential employees or evaluating products that we might want to buy or companies we might want to outsource to. We put in fields of, just the questions that we would ask, for example, with employees. Are they skilled enough for the job that they have? 3-point scale, 5-point scale, whatever. And then, how did you feel about their technical ability? How did you feel about whether or not you could work with them? What do you think their basic skills are versus their higher level skills? Would you feel comfortable with this person as a level 1 versus a level 2 tech? What's their knowledge in all of these different areas? And then you can figure out a way to do some weighting and make all of that work. The bottom line is, I believe that there's so much good that can come from Excel that you should either be really good at it on the basic part. You don't have to be good at Visual Basic programming or XML coding or anything like that, but you should know the basics of Excel, which can do massive, wonderful things for you. But you have to just begin thinking in terms of spreadsheets and thinking in terms of getting data in and out and cleaning it and so forth. And then if you're not going to be good at it, you need to hire somebody who is, or you need to train somebody on your admin or front office staff who is good at Excel, because there's so many tasks where it is just perfect for keeping track of things. Now, I personally don't use it as a database, but if you wanted to keep track of like your free cash flow or something like that, a little simple cash flow chart would be super easy to create. I do have to say there's about 1 million templates from Microsoft for pretty much anything you want to do. I don't think you need to do all the fancy graphics and so forth unless you're going to be using it to display to somebody. But just the basic functionality can dramatically improve your business. Now, I rarely plug products here, but I will just say, if you need somebody to give you a great introduction to Excel, the folks over at Bigger Brains, which is an incredibly reasonably priced training area, have some great classes on Excel. And it's the kind of thing that if you've got somebody who wants to learn this, who wants to be the person who falls in love with Excel, Bigger Brains is probably the place to send them. Go set up your MSP account there. You may or may not choose to sell or resell that product to your clients or include it in your other stuff. But being able to use your access to that will give you the ability to see what Excel can do and to train up one or more members of your staff so that you can take maximum benefit of a very cool tool. For Small Biz Thoughts, this is Carl Palachuk wishing you the best of luck in everything you do.